Good gosh, there's gotta be a better way to do this.
Welcome back, super friends. What's the hubbub? Today I'm calling the critical drinker a pussy, and I'll explain what that means later in the video fully. No punches held today. We are taking a look at how James Gunn's Superman and the new DCU keep causing a stir with the SnyderBros crowd, who follow it more than stuff they actually like. Also a counterback on Aaron Fischer towards some civil debate, because yes, he can handle it, and guess what? We disagree, but have some civility boundaries. Onto critical pussy drinker in a dimly lit YouTube studio somewhere in Scotland. Or possibly just the inside of a permanently clenched jaw. The critical drinker will release a video titled like, Why James Gunn's Superman Fails, Even When It Succeeds. In the video, the drinker glares at the camera and growls in his signature gravel-voiced, yet semi-cheerful pub-like tone. Superman smiles now, apparently. How dare he? Remember when heroes were emotionally shattered and incapable of growth? Those were the days. Despite the movie being a heartfelt, critically acclaimed success, the drinker insists it is another woke Hollywood disaster, soulless corporate fluff, an attack on masculinity, objectivity, and probably whiskey. He then spends 9 minutes carefully explaining why Superman helping people and being kind is somehow cultural rot, before cutting to black and saying, go away now. The drinker's content is less film, criticism, and more emotional hospice care for men who haven't smiled since Iron Man died. His YouTube thumbnails all feature the same font, the same disapproving grimace, and the same phrase, this is why it's broken. The critical drinker deserves credit for carving out a niche in the pop culture commentary space. Here's how he did it. His videos follow a recognizable format, gravelly voice, blunt critiques, dark humor, and the go away now sign off, which becomes a brand. He tapped into a large, often underserved audience of disaffected movie fans who feel alienated by modern Hollywood's ideological shift. His grumpy middle-aged man with a glass of Scotch act gives him a unique voice in a sea of overproduced positivity or fake outrage. There's a performance element to his anger. The exaggeration adds entertainment value while still voicing real frustrations. Buddy, how is the critical drinker a pussy? I am referring to what I call the grumpy cat effect, a persona based on meme culture. So yes, he's a grumpy pussy, I guess. However, the downside is that the success of that persona can become a creative cage, structurally a pigeonholed into negativity. Fans expect him to hate things. Even if a film isn't that bad, there's pressure to stay in character and tear it apart anyway. Woke obsession, because the anti-woke crowd fuels a lot of engagement. There's an incentive to focus primarily on those themes, even if it's not always the most insightful or balanced critique. Satirical backlash. Some fans and critics have started to parody him. Jokes about him being a grumpy cat suggest he's become a caricature of himself, perpetually annoyed, always with the same everything is bad now tone. Nuance is critically null and void now. His early videos had more room for thoughtful critique. Now some argue he's sacrificing depth for clicks, leaning too hard into the angry drinker shtick. Parody videos and memes paint him as perpetually miserable, no matter the content. Allergic to joy even when a film is decent. A sort of get-off-my-lawn film critic trapped in a loop of outrage, often with a drink in hand. The satire often pokes fun at his predictable talking points. This movie is bad because agenda, his boozy persona, which blurs the line between character and critique. His overuse of certain tropes, like blaming Hollywood for everything. At its core, the critical drinker is a performer as much as a critic. And once a performer builds a fan base around a specific persona, there's always a trade-off. Stay true to yourself and risk losing fans. Cater to expectations and risk becoming a parody. The Critical Drinker built a massive fan base by becoming a trusted voice for viewers frustrated with modern Hollywood, especially the perceived overemphasis on woke messaging. But that same success locks him into a grumpy, cynical persona. Now, even when a film is good, fans expect the grump. This creates a feedback loop where real opinions get diluted for the sake of the brand, leading to satire and jokes comparing him to a grumpy cat who can't be pleased. But in a shocking twist, Gunn's Superman seems to be reaching people outside of these echo chambers. Actual fans are loving it. Families are attending screenings together. Even Henry Cavill lookalikes are tweeting, "Okay, yeah, he nailed it." Still, the Drinker's audience remains loyal, with commenters saying things like, "I haven't seen the movie and I never will, but I can tell it's awful. Superman having a personality is woke now, I guess. I miss when movies made me feel nothing." One commenter may have summed it up best. "I don't even like movies. I just like being mad at them." Similarly to the Snyder Cult, who daily is declaring a war on joy, as James Gunn's Superman receives glowing reviews in a shocking turn of events that absolutely no one predicted, except literally everyone. James Gunn's Superman has hit theaters, charmed critics, delighted audiences, and driven the Snyder Cult into a full existential meltdown, despite the film's widespread acclaim for capturing the heart, hope, and humanity of the Man of Steel. A stubborn online faction of Zack Snyder loyalists continue to insist the movie is an insult to true art, presumably defined as anything filmed in slow motion during a thunderstorm. While Leonard Cohen plays in the background, SnyderBros declared a moral victory after Gunn's Superman garnered 93% on Rotten Tomatoes and totally missed there was no gender swapping and a traditional romance, and even Clark willing to disagree with Lois in a heated exchange. He didn't just bow to her feet and say, "Yes, Miss Lane, you are right on everything." He had a backbone. She respected him, and he respected her. It's actually so far removed from woke that the Snyder Bros had to focus on a faux Israeli verse, Palestine war reference between the fictitious countries involved. Sure, it's critically acclaimed, beloved by fans, made my mom cry, and saved my marriage. But it's not cinema. Actual tweet by someone whose profile picture is Henry Cavill in grayscale. Children are pretending to fly again. David is their Superman. He values lives, enjoys saving anyone he can, even a squirrel. Hope has returned to the DC universe, but deep in the darker corners of the internet, specifically the DCEU subreddit, X replies, and the YouTube algorithms basement, the Snyder Cult, continues its sacred mission, hating Superman with the passion of 1,000 Martha flashbacks. Despite not liking anything since Snyder Justice League cut, these fans are working overtime to convince everyone, especially themselves, that Gunn's Superman is mid at best, woke garbage, and doesn't have the philosophical gravitas of a floating Jesus metaphor. I haven't seen it yet, but I heard Superman experiences joy. Disgusting. Superman should be sad, sexy, and emotionally unavailable, like a Greek god going through a divorce. The cult, known for simultaneously hating the current DC direction while tracking its every move, like it's their ex's Instagram, has launched Restore the Snyderverse Phase 438. The initiative mostly involves posting the same 6 screenshots of Henry Cavill from Man of Steel with grayscale filters and crying emojis. Ironically, these self-proclaimed Superman fans have now dedicated more time and energy to hating a hopeful, inspiring Superman than they've spent enjoying anything in the last decade, including their own lives. Analysts suggest the Snyder Cult may be experiencing post-Superman joy denial syndrome, a condition where fans confuse emotional resonance and narrative clarity with personal betrayal. As one kid leaving the theater said, "I want to be Superman when I grow up," to which a nearby Snyder cultist muttered, Not unless he's traumatized, you don't. Meanwhile, general audiences are just happy their kids can finally see a Superman movie without having to explain what PTSD is. Gunn, when asked for comment, shrugged and said, "I'm just glad people like it. Even the ones who hate it have probably seen it 3 times already, based on their frame-by-frame Twitter breakdowns. As Superman continues to fly high, the Snyder Cult soldiers on, doom scrolling through joy, furious that the world is moving on and that Superman is smiling again. Lastly, I wanted to say I appreciated a mostly fair rebuttal from Aaron Fischer. But yes, folks, like the DC fandom in general, we disagree on substance. Time for a movie hubbub counter. Aaron Fischer versus movie hubbub DC fandom, civil debate."
He goes on to say Superman made a $125 million profit. It set up more movies for the DCU also. The domestic return rate is like 30% more than the Asian markets. You guys can joke domestic man, but I'll take it over cancellation man. And I replied, it did not make $125 million in profit. You know that is a straight up lie. Superman was rejected around the world, and it didn't even sell as many tickets as Man of Steel did domestically. I said it was a failure all the way around.
A couple of items stood out here in his rebuttal. Yes, Aaron, the trades tend to get more accurate information than social media fan posts alone. According to Variety and reported by other trades, Superman has generated $125 million in theatrical profit for the studio as its time in theaters comes to an end. For those keeping score, Deadline reported in 2014 that Man of Steel generated $42 million in profit, meaning Gunn's Superman earned roughly 3 times the profit of Zack Snyder's 2013 film.
Couldn't even make as much as Man of Steel, not even adjusted for inflation. And then he goes on to say that I'm not going to read any more than this. Well, I'll go a little bit further. But he goes on to say that since 2013 to present day, theater going is generally down 49%. That is a lie, okay? It's about a third. It is not half.
On the 49% theater drop estimate, we are taking the 2013 through 2024 figure, which is way more than a third, by the way, at the 43% decline. 2025 has not complete yet, but figuring a drastic March drop comparison from 2024 to 2025 was reported around 7 to 8%. That shows us a movie-going drop estimate of 49 to 51% when comparing 2013 to current day. Even if we see any uptick as 2025 continues, we are going to end at 40+% moviegoer drop from 2013 through now.
It is about a third, okay? And he said, yes, I would think it would have sold more ticket. As for inflation, you guys never account for inflation on cost towards profitability. And he was also talking about, he actually changed what he said here because he went on to say that Superman or that Man of Steel had 2 more months in theaters than Superman did. And I told him it wouldn't have made a difference, and you know it. Superman was dead when it left theaters. He said, yes, most movies drift to streaming quickly, regardless of success level. Minecraft did nearly $1 billion, and in a few weeks was showing up on digital. And I said, and they were still going to the theater to see it. Superman was dead.
So yes, when you have half of the people going to theaters, you sell a lot less tickets. Man of Steel and Superman are both moderate successes for their eras. Let's not pretend in an easier market pre-streaming and pre-COVID that doing like 40 million more crushes in comparison, it could easily be argued that Superman data extrapolate from 2025 applied to 2013. Climate would have cleared 800 million worldwide. But like the inflation semantics, which don't account for costs, that wouldn't be real-world numbers. With that, it was today's hubbub. No Snyderverse, no problem. Look up, not back. Now get away, losers. Sorry, I binged some critical drinker videos in prepping my commentary. Take care. Word fumble. Take care of yourselves and others. I encourage you to engage in civil debate with a spot of tea, my friends.